Hi, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. Wanted to give you another tag today, and this one is a long overdue tag. This one's several months old, but I'd had it in my notebook. I've got a bunch of notes that I take on my books that I read, and then if I find an interesting tag, I'll write the questions down. And I wrote the questions down and then never did the the tag, and so I wanted to do this tag and get it out there for you. Like I said, long overdue. So this is the 1001 books tag. This was originally created on Miss Reads a Lot's channel. I saw it on Steve Donahue's channel. I saw it on Shelley Swearengen's channel. I'll try to remember to leave the links to all of those below, and I'll leave the questions down below in the description box. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So 1001 lists. Do you follow any book lists? It can be a prize list or a challenge like the Rory Gilmore challenge. So I kind of pay attention to some of the lists. I don't necessarily always read all of the lists. I actually have several docs on my computer where it's got like Pulitzer Prize winners, the Lincoln Prize, and various different history prizes that I have tried to keep track of, and I try to pick those books up when I see them, try to read them. I've actually read several off of the Lincoln Prize. I kind of pat myself on the back for that one. I didn't do it intentionally, but I have found that I have read several of those books. But I don't necessarily stick to the lists. I'm terrible at lists is what I have found. Even with TBR lists, I come up with 10 books to read and I read about 4 or 5 of them, and then I am burnt out on the list. I'm very much a mood reader, and I'll switch to something else that I'm interested in. That's why I have so many books on the shelf that I've started and not finished. They also had on here the Rory Gilmore challenge, and I did look that up. That is an impressive list of books. My wife and my daughters love the Gilmore Girls show, and so we've seen every episode and we binge watch them, and so I've seen those, and I'm very aware of all of the times that they mention different books, or they give a comment that is basically going towards a book. And I've looked that up, and I am not as impressive on that list. I haven't read a lot of those books. I also looked up the show Lost. They have a book reading list for the show Lost, and I've looked that up, and I have not read a lot of those books. I did copy those down like on a doc, so that just to interest myself. Now, my sister-in-law, last summer, or maybe it was 2 years ago now. I think it was last summer. We went and we visited them, and she had, as a kind of a coffee table book, the 1001 books you should read before you die, I think is the name of the book. But I got to flipping through that throughout the whole week we were there, and I did copy down that list, and I've been kind of keeping track of that. And I have this itch that I want to go through and check those off as I read them, just to say that I did it. Now, again, like I said, TBR lists, I'm terrible at them, so I'm not saying I'm ever going to get that completed, but I do follow it a little bit. So anyway, let's move on. 1001 books. Approximately how many physical books do you currently own? How many ebooks? Okay, so I have struggled since getting on BookTube. I used to be really good at keeping track of every single book that I buy. And I have a master list on Google Sheets that I keep track of all of the books, or not Google Sheets, it's a Google Doc. And I tried transferring them to the Sheets, and that's not completed. But anyway, it was a master list, and I had it pretty well under control until I got on BookTube, and then I seemed to buy a few more books than what I was buying, and a bunch of them I did not get onto that list. And so I am guessing, and I'm pretty sure I'm right, well over 1,500 books. And then do I have any ebooks? I only have a couple, and those were sent to me through email by subscribers, and I still need to get to those. I just don't read a lot of ebooks, but they were history, Civil War type books, and so I did not get rid of them. I still have them on my email. I just haven't read them yet. So next question, 1001 books read. Approximately how many books have you read in your lifetime? Do you keep track? I have absolutely, positively no idea how many I've read in my lifetime. I thought my number was going to be fairly impressive with the ones that I have keeping track, and it really wasn't even that impressive when I start thinking about fellow booktubers and how many they read. Since the summer of 2017, since June of 2017, I have kept track of every single book that I have completed. And that was since June of 2017, I have completed 313 books. It's not that impressive when you look at, like, Steve Donahue reads that in 1 year. Easy. He reads well over that in 1 year. And so it makes me feel like, but that's okay. I'm still proud of what I have gotten accomplished with my book reading. 1001 Arabian Nights. Have you read any stories from the Arabian Nights? Do you have a favorite? If you haven't read it, do you want to? I have never read it. I had a copy at one time in my books. I think I may have donated it, or maybe it's upstairs. I'm not sure. I've never read it. I obviously am open to reading it. That's why I had it in the collection at one time. I just never got to it, and I scratched my head wondering if I ever would. I am open to it, just haven't read it. 1001 Flavors. Do you have a favorite food or flavor? I have favorite foods, yes. I absolutely love chili. Chili is my favorite. I have it almost every single birthday. My wife makes a mean bowl of chili, and it's really, really good. I love how she does it. And there's the great thing about chili is chili can be made in so many different ways. There's different flavors you could throw in. There's, you can have a thick chili, more of a soupy chili. It can have meat. It can have no meat, beans, no beans. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to make chili. And it can have all kinds of, it can be really spicy or not spicy at all. And I absolutely love that about chili. My wife's is my favorite. She is absolutely the best at making chili. And it's very much like my mother-in-law's. Excuse me, their chili is very similar. So I like both of them. My wife's is my favorite, though. And I also absolutely love enchiladas. I eat enchiladas almost every single time I go out to eat in a Mexican restaurant, which is my favorite flavored foods, is the Mexican variety. I love the spiciness. I also love Indian flavors. I don't want to throw that out the door. I love the different variety of spices and different flavors they bring. Cajun pasta is another awesome food. So anyway, this is a book tag, so I better get moving because I could talk about food for a long time. 1001 Pages. Have you read a book that is over 1001 pages? Is there one that you recommend, and is it worth the time? What is the longest book you have read? Yes, I have read a handful of books that are over 1,000 pages. Some of them that came to mind in the last couple years that I've read Lonesome Dove. That's probably the best one of this list. I absolutely loved it. I just got done with Gone with the Wind. Overall, I think I like that book. There's a lot of things I don't like about it, but it was a good book. The Stand, I liked that. It's been a long time since I read that, but I liked it when I read it. And I've also read, what was the other Stephen? Oh, Under the Dome by Stephen King. And I've liked all of those. The one that I would recommend the most is Lonesome Dove. Absolutely loved that book. There are some other ones. Those are just the most recent ones as I was flipping back through my list over the last couple years. Had lots of 800 and 900 page books, but there was only a handful of them over 1,000. So, 1001 buckets. Do you have a non-bookish bucket list? What is one thing on the list? Now, you said one thing. I'm late to the game, so this can't matter all that much. So I'm going to give you more than one thing. On my bucket list of things I would like to do before I die, I would like to go to the Baseball Hall of Fame. Absolutely way up at the top of my list. And I do think that one will definitely get accomplished someday. I want to go and watch a baseball game in every single Major League Baseball stadium. That one might not get done, but I would love to do it. I would also like to go to, just take a vacation. And I mentioned this in another video, all the American Revolution battlefield sites, or just important sites of the Civil War battle sites. And another one that I really, really want to do before I die is I want to go on an Abe Lincoln journey, so to speak, travel to his birthplace, and then go from point to point on the map of all of the places that he lived in and all of the important events of his life. I would absolutely love to do that. And I know there's a ton of historical markers out there in the central United States, from Kentucky, where he was born, all the way up into, Indiana and Illinois, and then in Washington, D.C. itself. I would absolutely love to go on that journey. I've only been to a couple of the places. I've been to his burial site in Springfield. I was outside of Ford's Theater. It was closed, so I didn't get to go. We went to Indiana and saw one of his boyhood homes. So I've been to a few of them, but not nearly as many as I want to go to. So that is my bucket list. 1,001 numbers. Do you have any lucky numbers? Is there a story behind it? I don't know that they're really lucky numbers. I don't know that I believe in luck all that much at all, really. I have some numbers that I like, that I tend to use. My favorite numbers are 3, 9, and 21. And I like 3, that was my baseball number. I like the number 9, that was my football number. And 21 became my basketball number. And so I really like those numbers, more just because those were my sports numbers. Once I got those numbers, I almost always had them. Very rare instance that I didn't have them when I was in those sports. And so, yeah. And funny story for football, I really wanted the number 12 because when I was a kid in the early to mid 90s, my favorite football player was Randall Cunningham, number 12, quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, and absolutely loved watching him play. He was fantastic. So I wanted number 12, but when I went to get my number, and I got that when I was in middle school. But when I went to high school, my freshman year, number 12 was already taken by another player. I believe it was Andy Pettibon. And thanks a lot, Andy. And anyway, he had number 12, so I had to go with a different number. My dad always told me, don't go with a single-digit number on your football jersey. It doesn't look good. For whatever reason, he didn't like that. And, of course, I went with number 9. Single-digit number. Why not? And number 9 just became my football number, and it always was, and I loved it all the way through my senior year. I could have got number 12 back, and I didn't want it. I wanted number 9. And then my little brother stole my number after I graduated. He was number 9. So anyway, 1,001 authors. Do you have a favorite author or genre? So for nonfiction reading, which is what I primarily do, my favorite genre is American history, Civil War related. And if I had to come up with a favorite author, one of my favorite authors, I don't know if he's the favorite, but he's right up there at the top, is James McPherson. He writes a whole lot of really good Civil War material. I also love Bruce Catton. Awesome writer. I'm in the middle of 2 books by him right now. And, I could go on and on with lists of authors. Those are 2 of my absolute favorites. And then if I'm talking fiction, I love to read legal thrillers. John Grisham is one of my favorite writers, and I've read all of his books. It's really good stuff. If I'm going science fiction, maybe it's Michael Crichton. I love his stuff. But anyway, you only wanted 1, so I better be quiet. Those are some of my favorites. All right, getting to the end of the tag here. A couple more questions. So 1,001 activities. Do you have a favorite outdoor activity? I have a handful of activities that I like to do outdoors. I absolutely love walking. I will be doing that here very, very soon after this video. I've been trying to walk between 3 and 4 miles a day. I haven't done that for a couple summers. I kind of went on I was doing that pretty regularly every summer, and it was kind of my weight watching idea. And then I haven't done it the last couple summers, and I finally got it started again here a week or 2 ago. And so I go out to our old cemetery and walk laps. It's about 3/4 of a mile all the way around that cemetery. And so I'll go out there and I'll walk 4 to 5 laps, depending on how much time I got. I also like to mow. I like mowing the yard. I'm weird. It makes my yard look good. It's a pretty simple activity. It's not so fun in 98% 99 degree weather, but I do like the calming that it brings to me. It calms me down, and it's just a physical activity that's pretty easy to do. I love to play baseball, or I used to anyway. That was my favorite outdoor activity, just to go out and play, have a game of catch, just play catch. And, me and my best friends would go do that, and we'd talk about anything and everything on our mind. It was kind of like going to the psychiatrist and laying on the couch. That's what playing catch for us in baseball was. It was like our psychology deal, our psychiatric trip. Anyway, and now as an old man, since I kind of blown out my shoulder from baseball, so I don't do that anymore, and I don't have any. My 5-year-old can't really play. I mean, we play catch, but it's not the same, with throwing it with a little pop on it. Can't do that yet. Maybe someday. But now my favorite outdoor activity is just to sit on our back porch, our back deck, and we got a couple of rocking chairs that are wicker rocking chairs, and they are so comfortable. And I like to just sit out there. We have pine trees that kind of wrap around our porch and keep it shaded all day long. And that is really nice to sit during the evening when it was really hot during the day and it's starting to cool down, and you get a nice breeze through there and the sound of the wind through the pine trees. It's great. It's so relaxing. Anyway, moving on. 1001 book clubs. Not a prompt, but a question for the comments. Should I start a 1001 book club with a book a month for a read along? And my answer to this would be yes. If you feel like doing it, go for it. And I think you did start this, if I remember right. And I did not join in. I apologize, didn't join in. But yeah, I'd say go for it. Have fun with it. And then 10 plus 1 friends. Tag some friends. She's going to tag 11 of them, 10 plus 1. 10 plus 01, 1001. She's going to do that, but I'm not going to tag anybody specifically because this tag is so old, several months old, and a whole bunch of people did it. So if you haven't done it, feel free to do it. But yeah, those are my answers to the 1001 books tag booktube. I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you think about your reading, and are you going to look at that 1001 books to read before you die? How many have you read? That'd be a good question to go through that list and find out. So anyway, booktube, until next time, I hope everyone's having a great day. Happy reading.